developmental skills. Guided play is now when you're like, I have a specific academic goal, I have a standard, it's something that I want to work towards. So now instead of it just being free and at the choice of the child, which you could set up that environment and make sure that you're kind of lending them to that goal, you're now kind of purposefully pushing them towards that goal. And you're now using play as an avenue to be the carrot to get them to want to learn that goal. So free play alone, we're just going to preface it, might not be sufficient for promoting academic learning. We're going to be completely aware of that. Because if I don't push them, they might not learn that specific skill that I think is important. Maybe eventually if we had all the time in the world, but luckily there's this thing called teaching that happens, and we can do that through our own initiative. So guided play provides a level of teacher direction, so your direction, to drive a specific academic learning goal. And you can really do this in the degree in which you drive it and push it can be a little bit different. It can be shared between you and the kiddos, or it can be more driven directly by you. And we'll show videos of that too.
So guided play is probably going to be the most time. We're going to spend our most time on guided play.
I think you would, because we've got the things that we want to learn, and there's different things, and this could be through a book reading, right? Like I can guide and make reading more playful. So there's some work that I did, I guess not that long ago, but where we taught kids vocabulary words. They did a storybook reading with us, and then we engaged in center time. We set up the same manipulatives as the story, so it was stories about dragons and princesses, and then there was another one where it's like farm equipment and ducks, and we took play equipment that matched the storyline, and we taught specific vocabulary in the stories, and then had them have those experiences in the centers to guide that vocabulary and reinforce that vocabulary they learned in the book. And kids that got the books paired with the play, that's guided play, learned that vocabulary better than kids that just had the books alone. So it was that reinforcement in putting it in this kind of guided play. But I'm very specific now. When you're in that center, I want to make sure you're using that language. But yeah, you can kind of meld those things together. Okay, so there's mutually driven play. So this is something that's a shared experience among what your kids are interested in and what you want to teach them. So you might, at this point, see something that's happening, and you're going to intervene or support your students in free play to teach them a specific skill. So we're out there at the playground, I see them struggling with that bottle. I might now step in as a teacher and provide some direction to say, hey, let's look around the playground and see if there's any tools we might be able to find to help us get that bottle out. That's as simple as it is. Now you've got their interest, they've grabbed it, they want to solve this problem, and now you're going to put certain things out there to help them out. If you see that the kids are in the kitchen and they are playing restaurant, you might encourage them to start jotting down notes about people's orders, because you want them to work on those pre-literacy, pre-writing skills. So just small little things, something they're already interested in, you just kind of add in something. Another way you can do this is you can identify a topic of your students' interests. So we talked about constructing knowledge is really important on taking what they already know. So take their interest and design lessons around the topic to target specific standards that are of interest to you. So one of the classrooms I love to visit every year is actually in Northampton, and she's a beekeeper. And so she's got a love of interest in bees, and the kids love the bees because she gets to bring in honey, and like they get to see how the bees make honeycomb. And that becomes something that's a thread that's mutually driven by the kids. So it's this theme that she incorporates reading and math and everything into around that theme that becomes an interest. And so they're building around this larger idea of honey making and what bees do and pollination, but then everything else, kind of those specific standards, get driven into that interest. It could also be something you're interested in or something that your kids are interested in. Okay, so let's watch a video of this kind of happening.
Well, we might be able to do that. We would have to be very safe with our bodies, though.
So the kids outside the school notice some construction happening.
Who's concentrating? Some who are just standing there? You mean some workers? I think you're right.
So the teacher took this as something that the kids were interested in, they saw it, and then is now like, well, let's have a conversation together and try to figure out what they are doing. So asking good questions, which is always really hard for me as a teacher to do, and really thinking about ways in which you can push them towards that goal. And so this goal here, maybe not such an academic goal, like you're like, I'm not teaching them 1 + 1, but my goal specifically is to work on those language skills. Like, can you explain what you're wanting to do? Because that's a goal of ours. That's an early learning standard, right? Kids have to be able to communicate meaning. So being able to ask questions that really reinforce that understanding.